Incredible tour guide.
This meeting is being recorded.
This meeting is being recorded, everyone. Welcome. He's been our terrific, incredible tour guide from all of our virtual tours. If you'd like to see them, they're still on our, what is that lovely page? YouTube. Yes, go to YouTube and you can see the virtual tours, but we're here to talk about an actual live tour. I couldn't be more excited, truly. And I think this is going to be such a special, amazing trip, once in a lifetime trip. And we're inviting all of you. And like all of our programming and our trips, it's, nonpartisan, non-denominational, for all ages and stages. We're going to have an amazing time. And we know that you have some questions, and we're here today to answer them and tell you about the trip. So before we do that, let me introduce everybody who's here with me. David, you're right underneath me. I see you there. So I'll introduce you first, David Sussman, our tour guide. Hi.
Hey, everybody. Hey, Cheryl. It's good to see you again.
It's great seeing you. And thank you for agreeing to lead us to the promised land, the Holy Land.
Absolutely.
David B., you're here with us from Israel Destination. He's been, along with Yair, doing all of the hotels, the planning, the back end work. They're fantastic. We're going to hear from them. Lee Tenenbaum, she's our community coordinator. She's with AIC, and she's been doing a lot of behind the scenes work and put a lot of love into this trip for y'all. She's going to be handling our Zoom today, as she does the majority of the days. So now you see the woman behind the magic. And with no delay, I will get started. Yes, applause for Lee. Thank you, David. I will get started with some of the questions we've already have. And please, as we go along, if you in the audience have any questions, type them into the chat. I know you can't see each other. We're definitely going to be getting together either for virtual or in person. Well, that would be hard because I know that the three of you are in Israel right now. So the rest of us will get together either in person and add you in virtually, or do a virtual so we could see each other, get to know each other beforehand. This is just a Q&A, and we've kept it in this format to prevent Zoom bombing, which unfortunately, David, I know you know firsthand, happens. So welcome, everyone. Believe it or not, the biggest question I keep getting is about COVID. And if somebody has COVID at the last minute, something happens, what are they going to do? Are they going to lose their money? Like, how do we go about navigating this? So please, anyone want to jump in with some answers? That would be fantastic.
I'm happy to do it. Hi, you're reaching me live from JFK Airport. I'm happy to be here, and I've made some sacrifices to make this commitment happen. I'm actually on my way back home after a week, very exciting week. We can share that later. But yeah, listen, COVID is definitely something which is still in our minds. Here's in JFK Airport, I'm with my mask, and we want to keep everyone safe. One of the reasons that we're encouraging people to get, go independently and pick up travel insurance is that there are policies that will ensure cancel for any reason. So that could be COVID. It could also be, didn't feel like it. Cancel for any reason is something which in these uncertain times, it's a suggestion that we're making, but not something that we are providing. I would say that if you're in a high risk category, if you're someone who's not vaccinated, if you're someone who is not had COVID recently, let's say within the last 60 or 90 days before the trip departs, those are people which have maybe a higher possibility of coming down with COVID. That being said, Israel is no longer requiring a test for a citizen, for people from the 20th of May. Is no longer requiring a test for people upon entering Israel. It might be that your airline will require a test, but Israel, the state of Israel, is not requiring a test from the end of this week and on. Also, people are allowed to enter Israel already since the 1st of March, whether they're vaccinated, whether they're not vaccinated, whether they are recovered, whether they're not recovered. So that's my answer. Is I would put it to your discretion. A person who chooses not to get travel insurance, we have our cancellation policy. We have a refund policy, and that will be in place. It's really if Yair is still here, maybe about that refund policy, Yair can expand on it. What our general, just in a few sentences, what our refund policy has been up until now and what it will be going forward.
Fantastic. So first of all, thank you so much, David, and it's really, really nice being here. I cannot tell you how excited it's been working for so long on this project, and it's going to be just really an incredible trip. We see it, we feel it. Now it's on you to come and join. So we're definitely looking forward to that. In terms of the cancellation policy in general, actually, I think David covered pretty much everything. Obviously, there is certain things that may come into place, and I think we'll share the actual document. I don't want to really dive into too many details at the moment, but let's put it this way. Anyone who, for whatever reason, up till now, couldn't come because of anything related to COVID, was able to get a full refund, and that's something that we take very seriously. I think we have the whole list that we will probably share. You could also see some details on the website as well. But if there are specific questions, I think I'd be more than happy to answer.
Okay, well, it looks like we're getting some Q&A in the chat. So we could always, go back and ask. Somebody did ask why David said that if you had not have COVID within 60 to 90 days before the trip, the person may be more at risk. But David, since you're not a doctor,
I'm not a
I'm
doctor.
not taking your COVID advice.
No, I'm not a doctor. But this is just comment a little bit of the sense that I've gotten. I don't call it common sense, and I'm not trying to wade into any waters surrounding COVID. Nonpartisan. I'm just saying what I needed to fly from Israel to America. America, if I was within 90 days of having my light COVID that I had about 78 days ago, they only asked me to provide documentation from my doctor that I have that I'm a survivor, and I did that. Nobody asked me for one scrap of paper. I was so upset. I had everything was all set to show my documents, but no one asked.
You did your homework and nobody cared. All right. Well, thank you. There's somebody who wants to expand on Petra, but I'd really love to go over, what we're doing from the start. I know that people were concerned about flights and how they're going to get there, and what if they can't get there at the exact moment everyone else arrives to meet. How do they join us? Is there a way to join us?
I'll field this question because it's more of a technical kind of logistical question. So we definitely made it clear that we would like everyone to make it to the Tel Aviv airport by a specific time. If we find that there's a very large group that's coming a bit earlier or coming a bit later, then we are ready to make an accommodation. But we really urge everyone to try and gather at the airport. You might have a couple hours to spend in the airport at some of the wonderful options that are there. You can go to your Aroma Cafe or whatever it is. And people are also welcome to, if it's not a large group, to make their own way to meet us. Getting to Tel Aviv from the airport is not a difficult task. If people want to reach out to me privately, as we get closer and we see what the demographics are, what the numbers are in terms of who's getting in at 1 hour and how we can best serve everyone, we can do that. It might be, adding, let's say, $80 if you want me to make sure that I have our taxi, our white cab with a driver out there with your name, John Doe, on the sign waiting for you. If it's not our bus, with the beautiful David Sussman standing out there waving to you, with everyone, it'll be someone from our staff from Israel Destination who will be greeting the lion's share of the group. And any individual concerns, I can field those individually. And that's something that's a bit further down the road once we see how many people have registered, once we reach our deadline of registration, and we see when people's flights are booked. There will be no one stranded. You might, again, have to wait a couple of hours before we really gather up the whole group. And if anyone's not willing or not interested in waiting a couple hours, we will definitely have points to come and join the bus along the way. And it's a small country. It's really not a difficult thing to do. Nobody should, in any case, be coming a day after. I'm not saying that as a school principal and scolding. If anyone has an issue, the wedding party only finishes at a certain day or whatever their happy occasion is, and we hope it's a happy occasion, we will make accommodations. But our package is our package, and it includes coming in at the around the time that everyone else is coming in, and we take care of you. And anything that's above and beyond that, we'll make an accommodation. And at times there might be a bit of an extra payment that we can work out together, and we want everyone to be happy and feel well served. So we definitely want to bend over backwards to make your trip the best trip possible.
That's fantastic. And I could say, speaking from someone who's personally been through that, because I've been on a few different missions, which is why I'm incredibly excited about this one. This is like the mission of all missions. And my flight was delayed, and I ended up getting there much later than anyone else. And there was no shortage of taxis outside. I got in the taxi, I went to the location, and I caught up with everybody. It was easy peasy. So hopefully we'll have no issues at all. But, I feel so much better knowing that the two of you are behind the scenes, making sure that if someone doesn't feel comfortable getting in a taxi, they can call you or work with your organization, because y'all have been great.
So I'll be happy to field kind of, let's give a specific example. I think that if I'm not mistaken, we had said 12 o'clock would be the time that everyone should try and get into Tel Aviv. Let's say you have a flight that's been changed and you're getting in at 2 p.m. as an example. So if it's only 2 people that are doing that, or if it's only 4 people that are doing that, so I really think that a taxi is the best option. If you want me to organize it for you and have a driver waiting out there with a sign, obviously that's a higher level of service and it'll cost more. What Cheryl is suggesting is to kind of do it on your own, and it's very safe and very fine way of doing it is to walk out the gate, walk out the doors towards the taxi stand. There's a very courteous person standing there at the taxi stand who will direct you to the next cab, and there's it's
Perfect.
a fare which is determined ahead of time. Our fare of $80 would be a flat fare, but it would be kind of more convenient, but I definitely don't think it's a necessity.
Perfect. Thank you. Now, I know that there are more questions, but there are also people who are just aching to hear more about the itinerary and the trip. So if we could wait on some of the questions, and David Sussman, please jump in and share with us some of the things you have planned. I know that we have some extra special things, like some time at your home, and we're going to be seeing Yaakov Solvit, and there's just so many things. And there are also things that are not on that itinerary that we plan to surprise you with, some really big goodies. But David, Lee, would you mind pulling up some of the information for us? Again, Lee Tenenbaum, thank you. David, go to it.
Sure. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you for passing the mic. I like to talk. It's what I do for a living, so it's great to be here. So excited. I'm just scrolling through the list of some of the people who are with us right now. And obviously I recognize many of the names from, the dozen or so tours that we did virtually while everybody wasn't able to visit Israel during the pandemic. And so it's great to see them. And I want to just give a little extra shout out to Bonnie Fitch, who's out there, who was on one of my tours here in Israel and attended one of my talks in Atlanta, and Charlene Cass, who's coming in from St. Louis. So I appreciate seeing the two of you on the attendee list, but it's great to see all of you. First of all, just like a very quick, short introduction. I know there's a piece written about me on the landing page of the website, but I originally hail from Boston. I'm American, native English speaker. I speak Hebrew fluently here as well. And I'm here already 21 years. I can't believe it. Almost half my life already has been here in Israel. I spent time in Tel Aviv and in Jerusalem. I served in the IDF. I was in an artillery unit, and I served combat in 2006 during the Second Lebanon War. And it was really at that point in my life that big shift took place, and I realized that there was a need for more advocates for Israel, and just to get the truth out there and people understand the facts on the ground and what's happening here, both historically as well as modern. And coming from my background with a deep appreciation for nature and beautiful places around the world, I just love showing people also the glory of Israel, because it's really just a remarkable place that in a area roughly the size of New Jersey, you have so many different topographical regions in the Upper Galilee, all the way down to a little bit of the Sinai Desert that creeps into Israel, and the Eilat Mountains that are made out of granite and are just awe-inspiring when you look out on them. And in fact, if there's a little extra time for those of you that want to go on a early morning hike, I'm always up for that. We can go up a little hill, and from this little hill, like a relatively easy hike, we can just gander into Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Egypt, standing in Israel all at the same time. And then let's reverse course. Let's head up north. And at some point up north in the Golan Heights, we get to look into Syria and to Lebanon, and possibly even in the Upper Galilee. On a clear day, you can actually see the Mediterranean, the ports in Lebanon, Tyre, and other places. It's really just such a beautiful place. And I know I've been able to show so many of you the land virtually, and I'm excited to show it to you in person. It's going to be excellent. And I can't wait to be doing it with Cheryl and Lee as well, because they bring so much to the table. And of course, Israel Destination, you hear David and everybody at the office. So let's just dive right in. And so I really put together this itinerary. And the itinerary, the reason why I chose the flow of this itinerary is I feel that many people, whether it's your first or your second time coming to Israel, anytime you go abroad, you go to another place, there's the initial of like, wow, we're not in Kansas anymore. However, here in Israel, there's this added aspect of it. You're like, wow, this is a Jewish nation, something that hasn't existed in 2,000 years, which is awesome in itself. So for me, people coming, I always like to start in Tel Aviv. Tel Aviv, it's a soft landing. It's a beautiful city. It's cultural. It's vibrant. It's got great restaurants, beautiful beaches, a great promenade that you can walk on, enjoy the sunset. There is a little bit of downtime that people are able to appreciate some of the various aspects of the different sites that we're going that maybe the rest of the group's not into, or that we're not providing in this itinerary. So Tel Aviv is a great soft landing. We land, we come in. Again, depending on what the logistics are on arrival, they do change, although as of now, it looks like there won't be any COVID testing or any quarantine period. So we'll head over to the hotel, do some introductions, meet everybody, hand out, maps of Israel, the itinerary, bags, hats, all that kind of, great, good stuff. Some adapters for the plugs, and just kind of give an overview of what's in store. And then after a great night of rest, we're going to get started on the birth of the nation, right? Tel Aviv, 1948. In fact, what was that? 74 years ago, just yesterday on the Gregorian calendar, we celebrate the Independence Day here in Israel according to the Hebrew calendar, but according to the Gregorian English calendar, it was 74 years ago yesterday that David Ben-Gurion sat in Tel Aviv and declared Israel's independence. And it was today, 74 years ago, that the British said, here you go, we're leaving, we're out of here. So we're going to start with the birth of the nation there in Tel Aviv by visiting some of the areas where covert operations took place that helped us earn our independence. And then we're going to enjoy, what Israel's become, this beautiful, vibrant, incredible, eclectic society, filled with color and taste and smells. And we're going to do that by going to the Carmel Market, which is like this huge marketplace in Tel Aviv. It's a great arts fair. It's really beautiful. And then going out and enjoying hearing about some of the technology and the innovation and how Israel, this small nation, today we're roughly about 9 million people, but this small nation, not numerous, not large, has made such a deep impact since this modern technological boom beginning in the late 90s, and all of the applications that people use in the medical field, and solar energy, water technology, things that maybe in America we don't think about as much as some of the new budding nations that we see in Africa, who are now just implementing infrastructure that need power, that need water. And who's coming to serve that need? Israel is. And we've been extremely innovative in that process. We're going to visit the old city of Jaffa, which is the original Tel Aviv, and really delve into the development of that entire region and area throughout the literally eons, 3,000 years of Jewish history in the city of Jaffa. Have another great meal. We're staying at a wonderful hotel, the Harrods Hotel. The location, you can't beat it. It's literally you can walk out the back door of the hotel, which for us will most likely be the front door because the back door goes out to the beach. And you're right on the promenade, you're right on the Eilat. So if you want to wake up early in the morning, go for a run, go for a walk, get back after a day of touring and just want to hang out on the beach, enjoy the sunset, it's literally seconds away from your room. And then on day 3, after we've kind of acclimated a little bit to the time difference and where we are in Israel and just soaking in like this incredible place that we're at, we're going to head north. And the reason why I choose going north rather than Jerusalem, Yerushalayim, first off, is the north has incredible, stunning, natural beauty. And as we head towards the north, we also visit some great archaeological sites that delve into some of the characters of ancient Israel, Second Temple period Israel to be specific. Caesarea, even though it wasn't really a Jewish city, it was built by King Herod, played a significant role during that time period. Also post Second Temple period, it played a very significant role. And it also gives us an opportunity to go through the timeline of Israel, to visit the different empires that ruled this area. And of course, we have some fantastic meals lined up. We got a great lunch at a beautiful winery overlooking the Mediterranean. So we'll be able to really enjoy some of the culinary experiences that Israel can offer and taste some of the delicious wine as well, before heading all the way up north. No, not all the way, but for today, as far north as we're going to get, which will be Tiberias, the Sea of Galilee, which is called the Kinneret here. And we're going to visit a new and just awesome archaeological excavation called Magdala, really Migdal in Hebrew, which was a Second Temple period Jewish village on the Sea of Galilee that houses the oldest that we know of, that we found thus far, the oldest inscription of the menorah that was in the temple and other motifs that represent the services that were conducted in the temple in Jerusalem, which is awesome and amazing. But for me, as a tour guide, a historian, somebody that just loves seeing the facts on the ground, Migdal was one of the first villages that was attacked by the Romans in the Great Revolt beginning in 66 CE. And you can literally see the preparations that the community made for this, eventual, like it was imminent, we knew it was coming, attack from the Romans. And you can see the not the siege wall, but the blockade, the barrier on the roads to prevent the Romans from coming into the city. Just really a tremendous experience. And get to enjoy a beautiful sunset tour on the Sea of Galilee, take in all that beauty. And of course, by this time, we're all going to be quite comfortable with one another. Maybe there'll be a little bit of dancing. We'll have some l'chaims. It's just going to be, a time for R&R, relaxation, and really just, drench ourselves in the emotion and the feeling of being here in Israel. It's phenomenal. It's great. The next day is really one of my favorite days. It's the city of Sfat. And I know some of you have been to Israel before, Sfat. just opens up a wealth of inspiration. It really talks a lot about the what and the whys of Judaism, and how it's been passed down from generation to generation, and when significant changes took place. And of course, for those of you who've been there and those of you who have not, it boasts over 100 different art galleries that, if you're looking to purchase a memento from the trip, spot's the place to do it. And we're gonna give you ample time on your own to do some shopping. Of course, we'll be there to assist anybody, if anybody has any questions. But then from Spot, we're gonna traverse, leave the Galilee, dip down into the Hula Valley, which is its own ecosystem, very small area, but totally its own ecosystem. In November, it will still be the tail end of the great bird migration. I take my kids up every single year to see the bird migration. I've been to Africa, I've done safari, I've hiked the Grand Canyon. I love nature. I hiked up, almost to the top of Mont Blanc and Chamonix and in the French Alps. And I will tell you that the bird migration in the Hula Valley is as phenomenal as any of these places I've ever been to. It's absolutely epic on a global scale. And so we'll probably still see some of those birds that are traversing. 500 million birds traverse over Israel during these great migrations that take place in the fall and again in the spring. But our destination, as we dip down and cross over the Hula Valley, is really the Golan Heights. And the Golan Heights also has its incredible beauty. It'll be the beginning there of the wet season. So things will start to begin to be blooming once again. Things will be turning green once again. It's really an incredible time to visit. And then we're going to go on some ATVs. And I know some of you might be like, whoa, ATVs, we're not too sure. That sounds dangerous. These ATVs aren't the ATVs that, we used to ride when we were kids. These ATVs are souped up. They have roll cages. They're more like tanks, right? Like little miniature tanks for 2 or 3, 4 people maximum. And but it offers us an opportunity to ride comfortably to like these really difficult places in the Golan Heights to capture not only the natural beauty, but to see some of the ruins from the battles that took place there in the wars of 1967, which is when the Golan Heights was liberated, the Yom Kippur War of 1973, and talk a little bit about the geopolitical politics that are happening in the area right now, see the border of Syria. So it's really a phenomenal ride and a great way to immerse ourselves in the Golan Heights before we meet a major within the IDF who served in a tank unit in Gaza and is now an inspirational speaker for the troops that are on the front lines fighting every day for Israel's independence, and also for Jews around the world to be able to hold their heads held high no matter where they are, knowing that there's a people and a nation and an army that's there to defend you if somebody were to ever, God forbid, discriminate against you, attack you, like we saw just 80 some odd years ago, that they're there to defend you. So we're going to listen to this incredible speaker who will delve more into the geopolitics, but really give us a taste of what it means to be a soldier, to be serving on the Golan Heights. He's really an incredible man. And we're very, very fortunate for the connection that we have with him, that he's going to take some time out in order to come meet us and speak to us. From that point forward, we're actually going to head already towards Jerusalem. And, when I promise you, when you're going to come here and you're going to see Tel Aviv, you're going to see the north, you're just going to be like, oh my God, you're going to be bursting at the seams. And it's planned this way so that by the time you get to Jerusalem, you kind of immerse yourself a little bit in our history and our heritage and our land. We've met some of our biblical heroes and gleaned inspiration from them, as well as the modern heroes that we have today, like Major Yaakov Sullivan. And by this time, we're ready to feel the holiness, to feel the energy, to feel the fire of Jerusalem, to tap into the incredible spirituality that emanates from that area. And we're just going to go right to the old city. We're going to Zion Gate, which is where the major battles took place, both in 48 and 67. We'll see literally the scars of those battles that are just on the walls of the old city from all the fighting that took place there. going into the Jewish quarter, and I'm not, I can't give you the whole explanation of what we're going to do there, but we're literally going to walk in the footsteps, and I guarantee we're going to be walking in the footsteps of our Jewish ancestors who lived in the old city. We're going to see stones that they placed where they're still located to this day. We're going to have the opportunity to walk on that and to really see biblical prophecy come to life and just tap into so much that is happening there. Before we have lunch, and this is all before we have lunch, right? Before we even have lunch in the Jewish quarter. And then we have a great opportunity. There is a building in the Jewish quarter that is run by AIC Torah. It's got this magnificent rooftop that gives you a 360-degree view of the old city, but most importantly, of the Temple Mount, of the Dome of the Rock. And it's the perfect place for us to understand a little bit more about the development of Jerusalem, who lived there and why, and who is it holy to, and who is it not holy to, and why all of us are drawn to Jerusalem, why we all pray towards Jerusalem wherever we are in the world. And that is all in preparation for what? Shabbos, Shabbat Shalom. It's going to be a wonderful, amazing Shabbat as we head as a group down to the Kotel. We'll sing and dance with thousands of other Jews from around the world, all singing the same songs that all of us know, although maybe different tunes. You'll see Hasidim, and you'll see Haredim, ultra-Orthodox. You'll see modern Orthodox. You'll see tourists like yourselves there. You'll see army units there. There'll be birthright groups there. There'll be school trips that are there. Everybody coming together, doing the one thing that Shabbat is all about, which is celebrating life. Simple as that. Celebrating the fact that we are alive, and life isn't all about doing, but sometimes it's just about being. And so that we could just sort of sink into that energy before heading back to the hotel, or maybe what we're gonna do is organize some families to eat by. But either way, it's going to be amazing, fantastic Shabbat. And then, because we're probably all going to have maybe one or two l'chaims too many, we're going to have a late start on Shabbat day on Saturday for just a nice walking tour of the rest of the quarters of the old city, and discuss a little bit about who the Armenians are, and why they have a quarter, and the Muslims and their history, and the Christian quarter, and give us an overall view and understanding of Jerusalem. Because I think it's important, first of all, we're going to have a very diverse group that's coming with us, but also when you all return to America, you might meet somebody who is Christian, or you might meet someone who's Muslim, or if you are Christian or Muslim, you meet someone who's Jewish, and they're going to say, did you visit here? Did you visit there? And you're like, well, I don't follow that faith, so we didn't go there. They're going to, go bonkers. How could you not go there, right? I mean, Christianity has been left such an impact on history in the last 2,000 years, not to be able to go see those sites and to understand its development, where it was located, why it was located, and of course the buildings themselves, I think would be a shame. So we're going to see all those places well, give us a good, understanding of the entire area. And then we'll head back to the hotel, have a beautiful Havdalah service, come out of Shabbat, and then have a free evening. At this time, sunset's probably going to be around 6:30. So you'll have the evening to still go out and enjoy yourselves if you want to. Now, most people at this point of any trip to Israel are already head over heels. You can't think there's anything could be better, and really probably nothing can be better than Shabbat in Jerusalem. But what else could Israel possibly offer? And then what happens is, boom, we take you into the Judean desert, into the lowest place on earth, to the Dead Sea, to visit Masada and to float in the Dead Sea, become completely weightless, enjoying the minerals, this natural spa. And we're not just going to go to any old beach. We're going to go to a beautiful spa that's located right there on the shores, with access to all the showers and mud and the salt, and just really have a great time at this gorgeous spa before heading back to Jerusalem and meeting one of my favorite characters here in Israel. He has been growing a tree that produces a fragrance known as balsam. And balsam is one of the fragrances that's used to create the incense in the temple. And this fragrance was really lost for many, many, many generations. And through his incredible research, he's been able to develop this once again. And he has gotten like the stamp of approval from the biggest rabbis, which is really not an easy thing to receive, from the biggest rabbis here in Israel, that says, this is balsam, this is kosher to use in the temple. We have been able to reproduce it once again after such a long period of time. So we're going to learn a little bit about him, his background, and I'm just going to throw it out there. He's not religious. This is like just some, God works in the most incredible ways and uses so many conduits to bring us to where we need to be. And Guy is one of those individuals, and he's spent his entire life dedicated to this idea and this process. So we're going to learn a little bit about that, have the opportunity maybe even to purchase some of the balsam ourselves before heading all the way back to Jerusalem. And then in the evening, again, to meet a little bit of the culture and the people, we have sort of like a panel of Israelis that'll talk a little bit about their experiences living here, having children here, just, all of the life situations that all of us have to go through, which are different in different areas of the world that we live in. So they'll be there giving their story. And of course, will be a Q&A at the end of it so that, we can learn a little bit more. Then we take a step more into a cerebral sort of place, right? We've had the epiphany and the incredible inspiration of Shabbat in Jerusalem, the beauty of the north, modern Israel, Tel Aviv, and of course the gorgeous Judean desert and the Dead Sea. Today starts off a little bit more somber. We go to Yad Vashem, and I particularly really, as difficult it is, it's something that I actually enjoy doing. I like guiding Yad Vashem. It's such an important story. My tour is a little bit different than other tours if you've been here before. I don't like to just focus on the facts and the figures and it's just so overwhelming. I try and find the sparks of light and inspiration and defiance that took place there and tell the individual stories of those that went through one of the worst periods in human history, never mind just Jewish history, really in human history. And hopefully by the end of our tour of Yad Vashem, we'll actually be inspired and strengthened from the stories that I'll be able to share as we leave and head out to Gush Etzion, which is where I live, to go to Caliber 3, which is an anti-terrorist training facility that trains some of the best in the Israeli army as well as private security. And they offer a program for tourists like ourselves to learn a little bit about what it takes to be in one of these units, the training that's involved, the decision-making, how that decision-making takes place in the battlefield. And we get some training ourselves. We get to shoot some of the weapons ourselves to learn how to handle it properly. But the message is really the incredible amount of thought that goes into being the most ethical and moral army in the world. And when you're here, we'll go into exactly why that is and the facts and the numbers that differentiate the Israeli army from any other army, including the American army in the world. So that is an incredible opportunity. And then we're going to have a dialogue, again, open it up also to the other side, get both points of views, have a panel, Arab and Israelis coming, talking about their perspective, the pain and the suffering that's obviously felt on both sides, and ways that we can strengthen and build bonds and move forward, hopefully to better times as far as the relationship between the Israelis and the Arabs are concerned. And then at that time, we're going to want to put our feet up, drink some good local wine, maybe some local beer as well. I have a friend of mine who's American. He's from Texas. He moved here to Israel. He got smicha, became a rabbi, and he decided that he didn't want to become a rabbi anymore in America. And he bought a farm and he raises just the best cattle here in Israel. And we're going to get some great steaks. We're going to have a great barbecue in my home where I'm at right now. And I have some local friends that are going to join us, a great musician. And we're just going to have some good music, good times, good laughter, and just enjoy being here in AIC Israel. And of course, my kids will be at that point will be really excited to see y'all as well. And then the next day, which is really our final day, to continue where we left off yesterday, we're going to, meet the staff and possibly some of the students at a very special school that tries to build, ties between the Arab and the Jewish populations, not, in the disputed territories, let's say in Judea and Samaria, but Israeli citizens, Arabs and Jews, right? Oftentimes it's not like a mandated segregation. It never has been here in Israel, right? It's a free and democratic society and always has been since the inception. But by its own natural course, people have tended to move into their own communities. And this school and certain people are saying we need to build more bridges, more friendships, more interfaith dialogue. And so we're going to learn about that grassroots operation to build closer ties. And then we're going to go for a great little tasting tour, Jerusalem, and then one last dose of incredible spirituality. We're going to go underneath the Muslim Quarter into the Kotel tunnels, offer up, our final prayers while we're here in Israel at the Western Wall. Probably sing a few songs at that point, take some great pictures before we head out to our final banquet. And for those of you who are leaving before and not going south and eventually into Petra, we'll say our goodbyes and head you over to the airport. So in this, 9-day trip here to Israel, you are going to be able to experience, and I saw in the Q&A, somebody said, this itinerary is similar to like momentum trips or other missions to Israel. This trip is much more comprehensive. We are covering a lot of ground, not in a way that feels rushed, but we're covering a lot of ground, seeing the entire country, hearing perspectives from a variety of different speakers, and are just gonna really have a full experience in the 9 days that we have together. Can't wait to see you guys all here.
Can't wait either. Are you kidding? So we've had people ask about walking. Some may have limited mobility. Is this a trip for that? Like, can we make accommodations, and how do we do that? I know obviously we won't be climbing Masada, right? So
Well, listen, I think if somebody is nervous about about mobility, to a degree that this is a serious concern, I think maybe, I can talk and hear a little bit more in depth exactly what that means, because people have different meanings behind, dealing with that issue. So for the most part, I don't think that it's going to be such an exhausting trip with a lot of walking. There are certain days, right, when we go to the old city, but maybe instead of walking out of the old city, if somebody wants to take a taxi, they can take a taxi. I've literally guided, I don't know, probably hundreds of missions. Really, I've been a guide for 15 years. I have probably guided hundreds of missions, definitely over 100 missions. And yes, some people have mobility issues, and there's always ways to accommodate them and to make it accessible. There's no hiking, there's no excessive hiking. We're not hiking up to the top of Masada. We're not, hiking through the Golan Heights. We're in a great vehicle. We're going to be in spot. There is walking, and the walking here in Israel, it's, usually on cobblestone. It's a hard surface. Have some comfortable shoes. We take it slow, we take it easy. I think everybody will be able to join. But if somebody has a serious concern, definitely reach out to me personally, and I'll get a better understanding of exactly what they mean by that.
perfect. So Jordan, Petra, Eilat, there's going to be an extra bonus add-on people can sign up for. Do you want to share a little bit more about that? Someone asked me today why we would even do that. And and I thought, David, you would have an amazing answer for that. So I said, no, David's going to answer that. David S.
Well, I'll tell you, Jordan, I will relate to somebody's feeling of why would somebody want to do that, in the sense of, hey, if I have an extra 3 days, I want to spend it in Israel. I'm already here 21 years. I want to spend every day of my life here in Israel. It's just an incredible place. But you're already here in the Middle East. It's an option. Believe it or not, a lot of people have inquired about it. A lot of people want to do this. It's not part of the package itinerary. It's for those that just want to see a different place and experience a little bit more beyond the borders of Israel. I spent a week in Petra about 10 years ago, and not in Petra, in Jordan. I spent 4 days in Wadi Rum, and I spent 2 days in Petra, and it's stunning. It's a concise, 3-day extension. 2 of those days, pretty much 2 solid days in Jordan, seeing Petra, which is one of the 8 wonders, ancient wonders, one of the 8 ancient wonders of the world. Talk a little bit about the Nabateans who built it. For me, the highlight is going to the desert, seeing Wadi Rum, doing the Jeep tour in that area. I spent 4 days hiking, rock climbing with the Bedouin. It's just remarkably beautiful. And it also brings you to our southern border. It brings you to Eilat, our port city, our resort city on the Red Sea. It's got coral reef and tropical fish and dolphins and sea turtles. So you just get to see a little bit more. So for those of you who want to see a little bit more and see Petra and experience a little bit more of what this world has to offer, this is really a golden opportunity while you're here.
And personally, I said, have you seen the Eilat Tour? I wanted to, experience it myself. It's one thing to do virtual, but I want to dip a toe in that water. My
It's
goodness,
all
that
we have.
looks
4 seas
gorgeous.
here. We got the Sea of Galilee, we got the Mediterranean Sea, we got the Dead Sea, we got the Red Sea. So it really is an incredible thing to be able to do.
Yeah, it definitely looked it.
And you will have the opportunity on this trip, if you want, to literally put your toes in all 4 of those bodies of water.
Yep, I'm signing up for that. I'm
All
definitely
right.
doing that. I was asked, when people sign up, they have to put their passport in. And I know, David Sussman, this is probably not going to be one for you. So,
Yeah, I
um,
can't talk anymore.
just give me 1 second.
All right.
They have to put their passport in. If somebody's right now on an expired passport and going to get it renewed, can they sign up without the passport for now, as long as they have the passport before they leave valid and ready?
Okay, that's a great question, and I will go ahead and answer that. I'm still recovering from David's experience. I'm sorry, it was just mind blowing. And as much as I lived in Israel most of my life, and I see all these sites every day, I should have said this in the beginning, but doing it with David Sussman, whether you're a first timer or you've been here, in Israel every year, it's something entirely different. I think we've experienced just a glimpse of what we're really gonna physically experience very soon. So I just want to thank David again, because this is actually really an inspiring trip, even just for me being part of. So thank you, David, and looking forward to all of you joining. In terms of the passports, I think as of now, we put that in mainly for people who will be joining us, whether it's airfare or obviously Petra, Jordan in general. You need visas, and therefore we need that information. I think what we'll do now is, I'm going to double check, but we will make it an option for people to sign up even without their passports. And if we do need their passports, closer to the trip, then we'll obviously reach out. I think that will be the best way to go, and then it'll solve everyone's issue.
Perfect. And we have an early bird right now. If somebody signs up and they don't put their deposit down, does that count as the early bird, or are they only considered registered when they put their deposit in?
That's a very, very good question. You could sign up now, but you need to pay the early bird by June 15th. So
Okay.
pretty much, yeah, the payment is what
The full payment's due by June 15th for the early bird, or just the deposit?
no, just the deposit. And then
Okay.
the rest, if I'm not mistaken, is by August 1st. Let me just double check here. Yeah, by August 1st.
Okay.
Okay, so as long as you pay the down payment by June 15th, you're good to go, and you got the early bird special, which is really, really great.
Okay. And how much is the down payment?
So the down payment, all the information is obviously on the website, and I urge you should all check it out and see.
Yes.
I'm not mistaken.
I thought it was under 200, but please,
Yeah, down payment of $180
there you go.
upon registration.
There
Okay.
you go.
So
Under
that is all by
$200,
June
180.
15th. And then the remaining amount will be by August 1st.
Perfect. We had questions about if there is when people want to walk to shul in Jerusalem in the morning, if somebody wants to go, is there a Reform shul nearby? Is there Orthodox? Will we be told like, here are the options, or will
First
they-
of all, we have Israel's premier tour guide on the trip. So any questions that you have
That's
about what's
true.
around the hotel, you'll definitely be able to ask. Not at any hour of the day, but certainly you can ask. Specifically about Reform synagogues, one of the most veteran Reform synagogues in the entire country, founded by German immigrants that came to the country, in the 20s and 30s. Harel congregation is right around the corner in the Rehavia neighborhood. There is a more, let's call it more modern, more, let's say, family-friendly or filled with families synagogue, which is for some of us a short walk away. It's in the German colony, or on the border between the German colony and the Katamonim neighborhood. And so the answer to that question is yes, not too far away. There's also the World Center for the Conservative Movement, the Fuchsberg Center, which is across the street from the hotel. And as long as we're on the subject, the World Center, where Hebrew Union College is, that's the World Center for the Progressive Movement, the Reform Movement, is just a bit further down the road. And the Great Synagogue, which was envisioned as being a synagogue for all Jewish people to feel comfortable in, but it is run as an Orthodox synagogue, and it is certainly very large, very great, is on the other side of the Prima Kings Hotel. So there are definitely a lot of great options close to the hotel, and there's a lot of great options a little bit further.
Perfect. And nobody's going to be alone. We're all together, so you won't have to worry. As David B said, we've got David S. He knows his way around, back and forth, up and down. I have all the faith in the world in him, and I've done quite a few missions. Happy to help with anything I
Well,
can.
I'm just going to add in just one little thing, is that when people are in Israel and they feel inspired and they want to try out something different, something new, they just want to maximize whatever time they have. And they might want to visit this shul or that shul. And of course, hearing some of the stories along the way, they might say, oh, wow, that shul's got such a great history to it, or something happened there that resonated with me. I just want to go there and pray for a minute. I want to daven with them. I want to see it at least. I want to watch them do what it is that they do there. Things that you think you might want to do now, you might find on the trip you're going to want to do something different. And when those times come, like David B said, I'm happy to fulfill whatever requests or places or give suggestions along the way. But you're in Israel, you're in Jerusalem, there is no short supply of places to visit in order to pray, whether it's Reform, Conservative, Orthodox, Hasidic, Litvak, go to Meir Sharim, wherever you want to go. We'll let you know where you can get that done.
Perfect. Yeah, you won't be bored. It's going to be an exciting adventure. Lots to see and do. So there was a question about single supplement. If someone can't find a roommate, what is the cost for a single supplement? And yes, we would be happy to connect roommates. If you need a roommate and we know somebody else is looking for a roommate, by all means, happy to connect people. That's what we do, right? We're all going to be connected on this wonderful trip, so why not?
So we're happy to answer any specific questions that people have, but I really encourage people to go and see the website. And there's tabs if you're looking on your laptop or your desktop computer. There's tabs at the top that you can find a tab which says itinerary. You can find what David was describing earlier. You can find a tab which says what's included, which is really quite extensive. You'll see that we're including almost all of your meals. There are a few meals that are in the middle of the day, lunchtime meals, which are maybe in shopping areas that I wouldn't want to keep you pigeonholed into one place, and you're going to want to wander on your own and experience places. One of the favorite things I did when I first came to Israel was intentionally to go find myself getting a little bit lost and a little bit maybe looking into different nooks and crannies of the different places, if it's Sfat or the old city of Jerusalem. And so I really encourage people to look at those tabs, because we've spent, Yair, myself, and Lee have spent a long time trying to anticipate a lot of your questions and give the answers over there. So Lee, if you can press on pricing, we can find exactly what the cost is. There's the early bird. We're seeing it right there, and then right underneath you can see the single supplement, $1,100. You can see the down payment. You can see the payment information, and that's for the main trip. And there's a similar information under the tab for the Petra Eilat Extension. Cheryl, if I can, I want to take a moment of personal privilege and answer a question that I think is really significant and might weigh on a lot of people's minds. It was asked in a certain way before the trip. It had to do with security precautions, but I want to take even a step back and think about it as a question of safety and security and comfort on the trip. So first of all, David Sussman Israel Tours is always carrying that number one concern of getting folks back to their families safe and sound, happy and inspired. And I think it's in that order: safe and sound, happy and inspired. And that's what we are committed to doing, and that's what Israel Destination does for literally thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people every single year. I was just at a conference where we're talking about how we're going to care for the 3,000 Jewish teens that we are bringing to Israel. And of course, their parents are not going to put those kids in our hands without a serious understanding that we have their health, their safety, their happiness, and their connection in our hands. And that's what we're doing. So what do we do? What do we really do? So first of all, we have weekly briefs. We're making sure that we are in contact with Israel's security apparatus, whether that be the General Security Service, the Internal Secret Service, whether it's the police, whether it's the meteorological services of Israel, and making sure that we're not going someplace which would be dangerous because of extreme weather. Same as the National Parks Authority, just making sure that we're only really going on to places that are known to be safe spots. And even if we're talking about border areas, you can be absolutely certain that if there's a warning, if there's any intelligence of any kind of threat in these border areas, we will not be going there, and we will be providing an adequate alternative plan. I just want to make that very clear. We're not going to be having and hiring private security. This is not something that the government is suggesting that we do. It's not something that we consider to be of importance. And as situations are often unfolding, we keep abreast of those changes. So I hope that answers and allays any fears. One specific question that we were asked about was about something that unfortunately all throughout the world now we have to be wary of and aware of, is just being aware of your surroundings, just knowing who's next to you. And just like many tourist destinations, if there are people who are coming from foreign places, from America, from Canada, from around the world, from Nigeria, they come to Israel, and just like in Times Square in New York City, and just like around the Vatican in Rome and any other tourist place, it's a magnet for people who are interested, but it's also a magnet for people who have some ill will. And it's just always important to keep your wits about you. And these are things that we have the experience over the last few years, and David over the last decade and a half as a guide of knowing how to keep people safe, sound, and happy and inspired. We hear the news, we see the news, we understand that things can happen in a surprise way with a lone person, and it's true in Buffalo, New York. It's sad to say it, but it's true in London, Paris, and in New York City, and in Jerusalem, and in other places, capitals and smaller places all throughout the world. So we are living in that reality, and we are aware of it, and we do not take your health, your safety, and your security lightly.
Feel very safe there. And I know that safety is always the biggest concern for many people, especially if they've never been there. But I always say I'd rather be around, the IDF with their weapons on the outside than in the middle of Times Square, not knowing who's got what. I feel much safer. Somebody asked about how
I can add one more thing, and
Okay.
it's important in talking about health, safety, happiness, and security, is that when we consider our groups, and when we look back and we say, okay, how did we have a participant here who was injured? Our groups have never had a terror attack committed against them. We have had groups that have had people that dehydrate, have had people who were out in the sun for too long, and these are things that you need to take care of and take personal responsibility for, just as much as I say keeping your wits about you from outside, but also making sure that you're feeling well, that if you're feeling unwell, that you're reaching out to the staff, and both Lee and Cheryl will be there, and they are coming to offer that assistance as well, leading, but also taking concern for everyone. And David, it doesn't go without saying, but it goes without saying. David is definitely an avenue, an address that people can turn to if they're feeling unwell, and that's why we've suggested that people get the travel insurance, but that's also why we are making sure to have a health insurance policy for people that is a local one, that it might even be double coverage. It might even be that you have in your travel insurance a health insurance part to it, but we have our local agent. We know exactly where that coverage is going to be had. And sometimes people ask about pre-existing conditions. I'm happy to take those questions in private, but just to say in the general sense, pre-existing conditions can be covered by a rider. The cost of that rider depends on a person's age. And it also, there's a caveat that a pre-existing condition will only be covered by our health insurance if it has been stable. What does stable mean? No hospitalizations for that condition, and the medication for that condition has been the same for the last 6 months. That, I think, covers it all.
Perfect. Thank you. So people are asking about the size of the tour. I think we're trying to keep it pretty intimate, so you won't feel lost. You won't be waiting for people to get out of the bathroom for 5 years. That's the goal, is that, we're all kind of on the same page going. I know we have something called a whisper, right? Where everyone should be able to hear while talking, because they'll have kind of like a secret service earpiece.
Yeah, these have become much more common. These kind of solutions, they're rechargeable headsets that have a transponder, a receiver, and the guide in any given place. Usually, almost always, it'll be David. But if it's in a place where we're listening to Guy Ehrlich or Yaakov Selavan or any of our guest speakers, they could be utilizing those microphones and the headsets. You should probably bring your own little earphones. We're gonna, they come with earphones, but they might not be any better than the American Airlines earphones that come in a baggie. So if you're sensitive, you bring your own earphones, you plug it in, and yeah, that's the answer about those whispers. We do have a minimum in order to keep the price at the point where we've got it. The minimum is 40, but we have one bus, so the maximum is basically 53. So it's going to be somewhere in there. The minimum of the Petra extension is, if I'm not mistaken, is 16, and that might be a little bit more intimate, but we're not going to cap that at just that mini size bus. Oh, Lee is correcting me, and I thank you for that. That we said that the minimum is 30. I remember that now. Thank you. So we will, so between 30 and 53, something like that. And our Petra extension again has a minimum that, if we need to pump it up to a bus, we will. But Cheryl said something that I think is the key word. And now I can share that David Sussman is my friend and my neighbor and my colleague, and I know him very, very well. And he and I both love to create an intimate and personal atmosphere. So that even if there's a large group of people, that people are finding themselves there. And I don't think, in my opinion, that a bus load is too big, but I can definitely understand if people disagree. And David can offer private tours for anyone that are interested.
I also wanted to say, after viewing this question session, if people are really serious about coming, I encourage them to register as soon as possible, not only to get the early bird discount, but we probably will fill up. And if you and your family or family group want to come, go ahead and register and pay your $180. Because we've got people from Georgia and several other neighboring states, and we've got some Canadians and some other people that have expressed interest. So
Thank you, Lee.
I think we will get to 40 easy.
Wonderful. Thank you, Lee. So Robin from the Augusta Jewish Museum has been asking some questions, and I'm thrilled that she'll be joining us, and the Augusta Jewish Museum has been sharing this. She's wondering, basically, if there are any places you can't take pictures. I guess she was a photographer and she wants to be able to capture everything. And how exciting is that? I mean, you want to capture everything in Israel, so much to capture. Is there anywhere that's going to say no?
I saw that question, and I wanted to address that. That definitely bring your camera. I'm very excited to see the pictures that you're taking, and I kind of find myself to be an amateur photographer, and can definitely appreciate the art. The only place off the top of my head that restricts photo taking is Yad Vashem, but that's only in the museum. Outside the museum, you're welcome to bring the camera into the museum. You're not allowed to take pictures while you're inside. Outside, you're able to. But other than that, possibly when we're at caliber 3 or certain military installations, due for security reasons, they don't like the weaponry, the machinery taking pictures. And also, when we go to caliber 3, we are going to meet some of the elite commanders within these counterterrorism units, and these people don't like their faces plastered all over the place. Like I just spoke with this guy who is top dog in Israel for stopping terrorists from doing the evil that they wish to do, but at all of those times it will be announced well in advance that this is a location that you're not supposed to take pictures at. But since an overwhelming majority of the places is completely fine, I wouldn't not bring any of your equipment with you that you want to use taking pictures. It will only be very few and select places.
Okay, thank you. And David B., I know you said you just you're in the USA right now. Hopefully your flight's on time and everything's going well.
Everything's going great. I'll be in America for the next few hours.
Okay, good. Appreciate you being here with us. So someone asked what the requirements are to re-enter the USA. Have you noticed anything different? I know you said that you had all your homework done and nobody asked for it. So what's going on there? And of course, this can change. We're talking about November.
So these are CDC guidelines, and I went on to the CDC website and I looked it up myself, and I saw that within 90 days, a U.S. citizen. I don't know to speak about citizens of other countries. Um, but if people, after they've done a little bit of research, still are finding themselves dumbfounded, and they would like me to do a little bit of Googling, I'm quite proficient in the Google arts. But for Americans currently, they want to see that you've either been either have proof of having been sick with COVID, or have had a test, and that test would have to be on the no more than the day before the flight. So let's say that's still in existence. That's still what's going on. So then on our itinerary, you'll see that the last day is a Tuesday. So on Monday, at the earliest, we will be doing an antigen test for anyone that needs it. And if you've been sick within the 90 days of the trip, of the return on the trip, I would urge you to have some sort of documentation, a letter from your doctor, which can attest to that, just to keep things smooth on the way to America.
Perfect. I know we had another question about insurance again, but I think that you answered it pretty well. There are so many different policies out there. We highly encourage you to get travel insurance and decide for yourself which one works the best for you. And I can't believe that an hour has already passed us, everybody. So I guess this is a time where I say farewell. And if you have any more questions, truly anything else, contact me. And then I could always, pass on to either the Davids or Yair, and we'll get your answers, because this is going to be exciting, and we're thrilled that you're considering joining us. So join us. Do any of you have anything else that you want to share?
I think anybody who wants to contact, if anybody wants to reach out to me personally, you have my email address. Anybody wants to reach out also on WhatsApp, if you want something a little bit more instant, a quicker answer, that's always a possibility as well. I'm excited to see everybody, to meet everybody, and hopefully even possibly schedule a time to pop on in. I would assume that there's going to be several people in Atlanta who are going to be joining, as well as around the world. So maybe even be able to pop in and meet everybody before the trip. But I'm just excited to make this happen. This has been a dream of Lee and Cheryl and myself and the rest of the team for quite some time. For 2 years, we were bringing Israel virtually, and now we're able to do it, in the live, in the flesh, in person. And we can't wait to meet y'all.
Exactly. And I'm going to throw in one last question. Sorry about this. But people were asking about the food and if it's kosher. And I think, the best place in the world to get kosher food is Israel. I've noticed that. Unlike Alpharetta, Georgia, where I have to go down to Toco Hills if I want to get, a kosher meal many times, we should be able to accommodate food, right? Everyone?
Yeah,
Shouldn't be an
absolutely.
issue.
If anyone has any dietary issues, in the registration, there's a place to put that. We really want to know about it, especially if it's something which is more serious than just a simple preference. Tell us what your preferences are. I will ask that, let's say you are gluten, you prefer not to eat gluten. Please do not call yourself allergic to gluten. Please don't call yourself celiac. Please define it exactly as it is, and we will accommodate it above and beyond your expectations, because that's what we do. I was asked about kosher food. The food will undoubtedly be kosher. And there's a great rabbi who was visiting a child in the hospital, and his sexton, his assistant, was told, go get some candy for this kid. And he asked the rabbi, he said, well, what certification, what kind of kosher certification should I get? And the rabbi said, first of all, make sure it's good, then make sure it's kosher. It's going to be kosher, but it's also going to be very, very good. I know that sometimes, having grown up in America, sometimes people have an aversion to kosher food because all they've had is terrible versions. So these will be really sumptuous meals. And the reason that we're including it, let's say the Bikta Smokehouse before the Kinar Hotel, we could be eating a great meal at the hotel, but we're going to be eating a better meal at the restaurant. Now, I do want to say that in Petra, if anyone reads the Israel news, you would have seen a headline that said that a few Jewish visitors to Jordan were prevented from bringing their phylacteries, their tefillin, a ritual object, into Jordan. That's sometimes a concern. We will be there leaving early-ish in the morning, on day one, and coming back in the afternoon on day two. So let's say you are a person that every single day wakes up and says a prayer while wearing tefillin or something like that. You'll be able to do it in Eilat before we go, and you'll be able to pick that up back in Eilat. You probably should not attempt to bring it into Jordan because you might be leaving those behind. And if it were me, I would be leaving myself behind with them to care for and protect them. But we'll have a place that we can put them before we go over the border. Jordan has also been very, very unreliable in allowing kosher food into the country. We are still working to try and figure out a solution for this, to have kosher certified food. At the current, we have been guaranteed that it will be kosher style. So that would be similar to my wife and I, who are observant and eat strictly kosher food. When we went to Greece, when we went to Cyprus, we knew to find the fruits and the vegetables and the things that we could eat, to bring in a little bit of modest amount of packaged food, maybe double wrap a piece of fish and put it there. You know, there are ways, and David, who's going to be traveling with the group to Petra, he will be well versed in the ways of gaming the kosher system and observing and the standard that people want to observe. And he is himself, I can attest to the fact that he is a pious individual. So he will only be eating kosher food as well. And so you can follow him, as you follow him on Masada, you can follow him to the dining room.
I'll just do a quick little summary on that. Is that yes, the food will be kosher. Yes, it will be delicious. And if the question was pertaining, is it going to be kosher? Yes. Or, oh no, is it all going to be kosher? Well, you know what? If you really need to have something that's unkosher, Israel also is a very diverse place. And for better or worse, there are plenty of places that aren't kosher as well. But there's food that we will be serving to cover the common denominator and making sure that everybody is happy will be some of the most delicious kosher food you've ever had.
And personally speaking, as a vegetarian going to your barbecue, I have all the faith in the world that there'll be something for everyone.
My kids like pasta, so there'll
There
be
you
some
go.
pasta.
It's perfect. So nobody has to worry about the meals. The food in Israel's incredible. If you've been there, you know that. If you haven't been there, you're going to be very happy there. So thank you all again for joining. Can't wait to see you in person. And yeah, reach out. Everybody in the audience, if you have questions. Thanks.
Thank you, guys.
David,
Thank you.
Yair, Lee, thank you, everyone.
We're looking forward to seeing you in Israel. Take care.
Take care. Bye,
Everyone.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Enjoy your Sunday.
You too.